Hey, same shirt, same vest, same unshaven face, whatever it is, I don't know. But I'm not even gonna edit this out. Here we go. Here's my best of 2010. Enjoy.
Number 10, Shutter Island. A Martin Scorsese film starring Leonardo DiCaprio is already worth my interest, but one that tackles the subject of mental illness is a more fascinating dish. Based on the novel by Dennis Lehane, Shutter Island really embodies the feel of both psychological thriller and film noir in one neat little package, questioning the reality of who the mental patient really is and what brought us here, as well as bringing up the past to haunt you. Not to mention, the performances and visuals are absolutely excellent. That scene of DiCaprio hugging his wife, played by Michelle Williams, before she turns to ash before him, still gives me chills every time I see it. And much to DiCaprio's luck, this isn't the only film of his that came out in 2010 that's on my list. Number 9, The A-Team. Not too many movies based on TV shows managed to capture the spirit of the original, but The A-Team is one of those major exceptions. Hell, even if you aren't somebody who watched the show, I guarantee you'll still have a fun time watching this movie, mostly because it's in that familiar territory of a movie that has fun with its stupidity. I mean, hell, there's even a scene in the movie where they attempt to fly a tank after it comes out of a blown up plane. That's the indication that I took, where if you have an action film and there's a tank in it, then it's awesome. And for a film that's starring Liam Neeson, Bradley Cooper, Sherlock Copley, and Quentin Rampage Jackson, I'm very satisfied. Number 8, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I think anyone who's been watching the films up to this point has been biting their nails in anticipation to see how this would work on film. Luckily, the decision to make it 2 films was the correct one, considering the amount of story that they have to cover. Ever since Goblet of Fire, the story has been taken as an overarching story that's been building up to this moment more than any franchise that I could ever think of. But at the very least, even though it's incomplete, Deathly Hallows Part 1 still manages to deliver a full 3-act story within its runtime that leaves you on the edge of how things are going to turn out with the follow-up. Number 7, True Grit. Not many remakes get the kind of remake that True Grit got, taking a very well-acclaimed film and surpassing it, something that rarely happens. But thanks to the Coen brothers, we got possibly the best remake of a Western classic since 3:10 to Yuma. Unlike the original film that would seem like any other fun revenge western, the remake takes a very dark tone with its main characters, and very rarely does it light up, and the performances by Haley Steinfeld and Jeff Bridges are brought to a much deeper realization than the original, and the supporting cast is equally as interesting. It definitely stands as one of the best remakes that you'll see this decade. Number 6, How to Train Your Dragon. A lot of people describe this as the true turning point for DreamWorks Animation, and I wholeheartedly agree in the best possible way. The animation is some of their best to look at, especially when it comes to the flying scenes. You really get the feeling that you're riding on the back of a dragon through the skies, and with the added use of 3D, it makes it all the more immersive. While the story and characters are something we've seen before, with the whole son going against traditions cliche and nobody believes him, the execution of it all is really damn solid, and you really get emotional towards everybody in this film. If this film is going to be a big step forward for DreamWorks, then I'm looking forward to what they bring next. Number 5, The Town. Say whatever you will about Ben Affleck the actor, but Ben Affleck the director is certainly something hardly anyone would complain about. Affleck's story of bank robbers, romance, and betrayal is solid beyond words, from the cinematography to the editing, right down to even the performances that cement it down. I especially love it when all 4 of these guys are together in one scene, because their friendship is really believable, particularly with Affleck and Renner, whose companionship rivals that of Bodhi and Utah from Point Break. Give it a watch, whatever way possible. I highly, highly recommend it. Although it's on a best films list, so yeah, go check it out. Number 4, Inception. When it comes to the works of Christopher Nolan, I always find his works outside of comic book movies to be his strongest, and Inception is no exception. Try saying that 5 times fast. While this film does take inspiration from the anime film Paprika and even The Exorcist 2, Nolan managed to deliver it in a way that allows it to coexist as its own entity. The dialogue and characters are incredibly investing, talk about the ideas of what's real and what isn't, in a somewhat different manner than Shutter Island did, and the performances by Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen Page, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and company are all stellar. Oh, and the visuals are pretty inspiring. Number 3, Summer Wars. If there's a sci-fi film that impressed me more than Inception, it's Summer Wars. For those familiar with the Digimon movie, more specifically the second story, Our War Game, then this film's plot should be familiar. I really love how the director of this film, Mamoru Hosoda, was able to take his short segment and turn it into something stronger. What we get is a much more adult retelling of how the internet can really go wrong and how the right circumstances can bring internet users together to fight against a common threat, all while dealing with shenanigans about pretend engagements that feels really charming and has some good humor to it. Would I say it's my favorite animated movie of the year? No, but it does come pretty close. That title actually goes to number 2, Toy Story 3. After over a decade since its previous installment, Pixar managed to deliver a very satisfying conclusion to the trilogy that started it all. Woody and the gang's fun times through Andy's childhood has been an incredible experience, and to see their journey for what comes after is both funny and touching to say the least. Not to mention, the years of Pixar's animation evolving since the first Toy Story shows that this company and franchise has come a long way. Sure, kids today will still find this to be a very fulfilling movie, but for the ones who grew up with Woody and Buzz since the beginning will be shedding tears by the end. Toy Story 3 brought out my inner childhood and made me sob my eyes out like a little baby, and it more than deserves to be put next to Back to the Future and The Evil Dead, and even the Dollars movies as one of the best trilogies in cinema history. Number 1, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. As a film that speaks to a crowd that grew up during the Super Nintendo era, Edgar Wright's adaptation of the Canadian graphic novel series is one of the most visually stunning movies I have ever seen. To me, this kind of style is what I expected The Last Airbender to be. You grow to like each of these characters in a short amount of time, know what their quirks are, as well as watch them all kick the shit out of each other. I was actually quite surprised at how good the entire cast was, whether they were Scott's friends or enemies. You always find yourself invested in their interactions with one another, regardless of who they were. Scott Pilgrim has action, comedy, 8-bit graphics, and a style that meshes it all together in one of the flashiest fun fests you will ever have. Whatever way possible, go give this film a watch and have yourself a good time. And if you love it that much, then go pick up the comic series, because it's actually pretty damn good.
Wasn't that fun? Thank you all. Good night. Yeah, I don't know how to end this off. I'll see you next time.